Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome, one and all, to Binge Battle, presented by Rotten Tomatoes. Hey, kids, my name is Mark Ellis, and whether you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, we're going to have a good time today. Why? Because we have two esteemed special guests, and we're going to be debating all things The Mandalorian, Season 1, Season 2. Remember before in 2020 when we all just needed content just to get us by? WandaVision was a distant dream, a song in our heart we could barely hear, but we had The Mandalorian. Season 1 blew us away, and we said, oh, I can't wait for what's next. Look at that cute little baby. I wonder what his name is. And then The Mandalorian Season 2. Woo! You're talking about not going online until you've seen the show. Spoilers aplenty, action aplenty, old characters returning, some new favorites emerging. And that's all we're going to talk about today is the Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, on Disney+. Whether you're joining us on Facebook, on the Rotten Tomatoes Facebook page, or the Movie Clips Facebook page, or on the Rotten Tomatoes YouTube feed. We're international, baby. We're all over the place, and we're all in one place right now. Alongside myself, I am thrilled to be joined by one of my dear friends. Y'all know her from all places, including Access Hollywood and everywhere in between. She is Ash Crossan. Ash, how are you? Is your dad still flying planes?
Yes, he is, but I don't work at Access Hollywood, Mark. I work at Entertainment
Yes,
Tonight.
You do.
No,
you just got the gig.
They haven't told me yet.
Okay, well, this is your coming out party. Of course, you work for ET and Access Hollywood. That's just some other channel that somebody else works on.
We've been friends for so long. You know this information.
We haven't seen each other. This is the problem with the pandemic. It's like you hang out. I know you have a cute dog, and that dog is named DK, and then he got a dog named Miles. And that's all I really know to this point about your life. And I know that you're doing a lot. You're interviewing a lot of people. People are interviewing you. And I'm so thrilled to have you back on the show today. Joining Ash from ET is from Sci-Fi, Caitlin Busch. And Caitlin, you are so busy working over there at Sci-Fi. You were just in a meeting and you took the courtesy to hop on over here to talk things Mandalorian. It's got to be a pretty good day for you so far.
It's going really good. I am so psyched to be here. I haven't had a chance to talk Star Wars with other people for a while, so I am very ready to get into it.
This is a very safe environment to talk Star Wars in. Caitlin Busch, Ash Crossan. I am merely Mark Ellis. And here's how Binge Battle works, is that there's going to be possibly 5 rounds, different topics of debate that feature scenes, episodes, characters from The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. And you, the viewer, get the best part because you get to determine who won each round and thus who wins today's Binge Battle. How do you vote? It's very simple. You just go on that Rotten Tomatoes Facebook. Yes, the Rotten Tomatoes Facebook is where you're going to be voting. So let's say that Ash is making a killer argument about something and you think she's winning this particular round. You're going to hit that thumbs up. That's the like button. That is going to be Ash's button throughout the duration of the show. If you think Caitlin is just too good to pass up and her argument holds water with you, then you hit that heart. That's the love button.
Aww.
As we say, Caitlin got the love, but Ash, we love you just as much. I don't want you to feel any lesser than because we gave you the thumbs up and not the heart.
Doesn't seem like it.
I think there's some bias. I think there's some bias here. I'm seeing something.
Yeah, I'm feeling
just
it.
too many TV credits to remember. She can take the like for a day. So I'm going to be ushering you all through all of this sort of fun stuff. When it comes to The Mandalorian, before we get to that, I want to let everybody have a chance to get in and get situated, get their bearings. So let me just go way, way, way back in the day, starting with you, Caitlin Busch. The first time you heard of this galaxy far, far away called Star Wars, what was it? What was the thing? What was your gateway into this whole new world?
Oh my God, this is one of my favorite things to talk about. Star Wars: A New Hope. It was the first movie that I remember watching growing up as a kid. My parents are huge Star Wars fans, as is my younger brother. And it's something that we've really bonded over. And I've really been lucky to have a career trajectory that's taken me into this space where I get to talk about it all the time.
Yeah, Ash, you have a similar trajectory where you're on the red carpet, you're interviewing Star Wars, but you're friends with these. I mean, they love they light up when they get to talk to Ash. Who's your favorite? Like, who's the best Star Wars personality out there to interview?
It's so hard because there's so many people I love, but hands down, it's John Boyega. He is the best person to talk to. He always like brings the energy. He's so fun to be around, and he just always like remembers me and remembers the last time we talked. And those little personal touches just mean so much.
That is awesome. Yeah, John Boyega seems like a delight. I would love to hang out with famous people too. And I get to do that right now with Ash and Caitlin. So we're just about ready to go here. Like I said, it's going to be 5 rounds. You're each going to get a minute to have your opening statement as to why you feel this way about this particular issue. So if, for instance, we were talking about all of Star Wars and I said, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I would correctly say Return of the Jedi. And then I'd have a minute to say why it is, even though I only need 2 words, we won. And then your counterpart's going to go for a minute, and then you get a 30-second rebuttal back to your counterpart for 30 seconds. And that is when we're going to start tabulating all the fan votes. So again, get your finger on your mouse clicker thingy, whatever computer you use. I'm still working with Windows 95 and Netscape Navigator. Hit the like button if you think Ash is winning that round. Hit the love button if you think Caitlin is winning that particular round. Okay, Ash, Caitlin, the rules have been laid out. Are we ready for this epic binge battle set in a galaxy far, far away?
Let's do it.
Hey,
Love that.
Jinx.
Jinx, buy me a Coke. Round number 1. It's simple. What's the best episode of The Mandalorian? The best episode of 2 quality seasons of content. The best episode. God, I hope y'all prepared for this in advance because now I'm racking my brain thinking about all the great episodes that I saw over the last 2 years. We go to Ash Crossan for her opening statement, a minute long, and it starts now.
Okay, gosh, this is so hard. Okay, there are so many near perfect Mandalorian episodes, and I wanted to get away from something that like was a big moment, like the Darksaber, Boba Fett. All of those are great, even Luke Skywalker. But Peyton Reed took us to absolute Star Wars church in Chapter 16, The Rescue. I mean, it had Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Fennec Shand, Koska Reeds, Cara Dune. They all teamed up. Some of the best fight choreography we've seen in the show. We get that whole cool, like, dope jetpack moment. We also get that showdown between Moff Gideon and Din Djarin that was like Darksaber in live action, which we've been wanting to see. And then we also get like the tension building for next season. We also have the Dark Troopers. Let's not forget what Ludwig Göransson did in this episode. Just like I can't wait to hit the clubs with that Dark Trooper song. And then we hear the Jedi that Grogu heard called to was freaking Luke Skywalker. Spoilers, hope you watched it. And then we get to see R2-D2. And then, of course, we have this emotional moment, the send-off between Mando and the child and what's going to happen next. I cried. And then, of course, we get R2-D2 and a post-credit scene setting up the next chapter, the Book of Boba Fett. So just dope from top to bottom. That's my pick. Boom.
Yeah, that was a fun episode to watch along with my brother virtually. He's up in Seattle and we were both watching it along and he was like 2 minutes ahead. And so he was texting me, oh, an X-Wing just showed up. And I'm like, all right, shut up, stop texting me. I don't want to know anymore. So episode 16, The Rescue, pretty good bar to set. Caitlin Busch, you now have a minute for your response.
Oh boy. So chapter 16, fantastic. I was going to do it originally, but I was rewatching and I have to pick chapter 15, The Believer, which is, I think, everything that Star Wars is about. You get into Bill Burr's character. He is the believer, or maybe it's this other guy, this empirical old school believer who is trying to bring back what was the Empire that we know eventually will become the First Order. It's the first time that we're really setting up what's going to come later down the line. Other than, obviously, like you said, the end credit scene is going to have Boba Fett. That's great. But you're getting the gang back together in chapter 15. I love getting the gang back together montage. They're going in, they're kicking ass. And then you come up to this very quiet scene. You get Din taking the helmet off, which is always a fun time. And then Bill Burr comes in to save his butt by just spouting off all of this empirical knowledge that he knows. How could you not love just seeing Mando not know what to do, just sitting in silence because he doesn't know how to emote? And then you have them turning on each other and killing each other. And it is everything that Star Wars can be. Like it's emotional and it's action filled.
If you told me when I was a kid, like, okay, Mark, in 2021, you're going to be talking Star Wars. What do you hope to hear about? I'd probably say R2-D2 or Luke Skywalker. What do you not expect to hear about? How great Bill Burr is in it, but he is tremendous.
Right?
Caitlin, spot on. These are 2 of my favorite episodes going at it right now. Episode 15 for Caitlin, episode 16 for Ash. Remember, if you think Caitlin has the right episode, as far as the best of all time so far. Hit that love button for Ash. Hit that like button. Ash, you got 30 seconds to respond. Why is The Rescue better than the episode that just preceded it?
Oh God, this is so hard because I love that episode as well. And but for me, Star Wars is about the emotion that it like invokes in me and those emotional moments. And for me, chapter 16 was just so memorable in terms of those amounts of moments. So it's like we see, when we see Din and Moff Gideon going at it in that lightsaber battle, which wasn't lightsabers, you know what I mean though. That was like, I was like, oh man, like I've been wanting to see this for a while. And then we even like the music and the score that's in this episode was just so memorable to me. And then, of course, the Luke Skywalker moment. As soon as we saw the X-Wing, I started bursting into tears like a maniac, and I will never experience that again. So anytime I experience those like big visceral moments for me, that will stay with me forever.
You knew as soon as that X-Wing pulled in, you knew it was Luke.
There was a part of me that was like, what if it's Leia? Because we kind of didn't know like where she was at that moment, but I was like, it could be her. That would be crazy. But in my heart of hearts, I knew it was Luke.
You're a better watcher than I, because Kate, when I saw the X-Wing pull in, I was like, oh, cool. Those other two pilots that they ran
Those
into.
other guys.
Wolf Trapper's back.
And then I saw the green lightsaber and I was like, oh,
back.
okay. Yeah, maybe this is something a little more force sensitive. So, okay, that was a great 30-second rebuttal. Caitlin, it's all on you.
Yeah.
Tell me why The Believer is better than The Rescue.
So love The Rescue, obviously, but I think I also have to point out the reference to Operation Cinder in The Believer, because then you get the beginning of the end of the Empire, which kind of resulted in the rise of the First Order. You get Ray Sloan was a part of Operation Cinder originally, eventually kind of kills the final plan, but not before the Emperor causes so much destruction and before Palpatine can enact his final clone plan. And also Ray Sloan eventually helps start the First Order with Hux's dad, whose name is, I think, Brindle. But then, of course, Bill Burr and his fellow soldiers and Vernon Khan, all of the destruction that happened there. There's just so many references packed into this tiny little, very emotional back and forth between these two men who have such opposite beliefs that I can't not just love it.
Well, if you do love Caitlin's argument, you're hitting that love button for Ash to win this round. You're hitting that like button. Going into some fan comments here. David Taylor is very excited about this conversation. And he's willing to admit, in a public forum, cried at Grogu's departure. Didn't we all tear up just a little bit? Maurice has a great comment. She says, this is hard because these are my two favorite episodes. So y'all really tugging at the heartstrings with some of these folks. It's so funny. Did y'all get caught up in any of that when Bill Burr's character first appeared in The Mandalorian? Everybody was freaking out that he still had a Boston accent. Like, we can't have Bostonians in space. And I was like, we have British people in space. Why can't we have Boston? I want a whole planet of Boston Star Wars. Am I wrong?
I think that's the next Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
I would totally take that. Look, I'm excited. I'm excited about Obi-Wan, okay, but I don't want to mess with the canon too much. If that guy's doing any more than crossword puzzles at the Mos Eisley Cantina, I don't know what we're doing.
He's had
here,
enough
but I
trauma,
do know
y'all.
this. Let the guy rest. Let the old hermit take a nap. I do have an answer. The votes are in. They have been tabulated, and I'm looking at the comment. I know how hard it is. And to echo mostly superheroes comment, we are holding our breath right now. Ash Crossan is the winner of round number 1. The Luke Skywalker R2-D2 probably tugged at the heartstrings, including those of the host, a little too much, even though I have no say in this. I can't
even blame him, because I would have voted for that too.
Yeah, it was pretty special moment. You never know if you're going to get any more Luke Skywalker, and you did. But I will say this.
Shouldn't have worked, and it looked so good.
It looked so good.
Looked so good.
Here's my thing. Grogu, Baby Yoda, right, goes with Luke, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm glad he went with the." He didn't go with Luke. He was not about Luke Skywalker until R2-D2 shows up. Then he's like, "Oh, cool, an arcade machine. I'll go play with that." That's why he got on the ship. In my opinion, he's on that elevator because of R2-D2. Once again, saving the galaxy. So R2-D2 may not qualify to be a candidate in round number 2 because our premise is the best supporting character. R2-D2, maybe not enough screen time to get that nod. So Caitlin Busch, you find yourself trailing 1-0, but plenty of time to come back, and you get a minute to tell us who the best supporting character in The Mandalorian is.
Ooh, okay. So here's a spicy take. I think my favorite slash best supporting character is Frog Lady,
Yeah.
who is introduced in season 2, as we know. She is my queen. And her whole thing is that she is on a mission to save her family. She is on a mission to create the family that maybe she never got to have. We don't know too much about her backstory other than the fact that she's just going to look for her frog husband, whose name is actually just frog husband, frog man. You get no other names for these creatures other than that. And they didn't even try to make it an alien. It's literally just, it is a frog. It leaps like a frog when they're running away from all of the ice spiders. And how can you not appreciate a frog who just wants to relax in a hot tub, like with all of her little eggs? And then, of course, because of Frog Lady, you get the whole scene of Grogu, the baby Yoda, eating with eggs, which obviously blew up the internet, which caused a lot of people to call murder, kind of, which was an interesting debate to watch happen across the internet. And we don't get to be with her for very long, but I think she stole a lot of hearts.
Hey, you know what? That's the internet for you, because people were probably eating their eggs or their egg sandwich from Starbucks as they were criticizing Grogu for munching on some eggs that were right there. He didn't know the difference. Eat all the eggs you want, just don't take the last one. We're trying to save a species here. So Frog Lady, an interesting, maybe a little bit off book choice, but I think that's a solid argument for Caitlin. So click that love button if you agree with her. Ash Crossan, your best supporting character.
Ooh, okay. I'm going with Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand. She is the most mysterious and intriguing to me, and she does so much with so little backstory. Like, she's known for like killing the top crime syndicates and taking down the Hutts, but there was such a reaction to her in the first season, just showing up and then getting killed off in one episode. Like, people were pissed. I was furious personally. But then she comes back and we see her like team up with Boba Fett. Like, he obviously respects the hell out of her and they respect each other. And she helped Mando rescue Grogu and major points there and all that. But then she's also like currently like co-ruling Jabba's palace. And I think she has the most potential out of the supporting characters in terms of her future, because she's getting not one, but 2 spinoffs. Because don't forget, she's also going to be in the Bad Batch. So we're going to get a lot of Fennec Shand in our future. So for me, best supporting character.
This is the beauty of Star Wars, because y'all picked 2 characters that we had never heard of until The Mandalorian. So we're not necessarily resting on our laurels saying, oh, it was so cool to see Boba Fett back. It's so awesome to have Luke Skywalker back in the mix. These are 2 new characters, and they had an emotional resonance with all of us. So, Caitlin, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds to champion Frog Lady. It's weird to put Frog Lady against Ming-Na Wen, but
Right?
that's your task.
This is the challenge at which I have presented to myself. But I think that I love all of the characters in Mandalorian who have these larger plots that are going on with them. But the ones that I'm really charmed by are the ones who are kind of the one-off characters, the ones who we don't really get to be with for very long. But because the writing of the show is so good and the acting, the animatronics of that face is all so fantastic, you can't help but fall in love with them. And even though you don't get to spend a lot of time with them, you still feel these emotions. And that's what all of these characters from Star Wars are so good at doing, is they give you so little, but you care so much.
I cared a lot about, more than I thought I would, about Frog Lady, and even her little frog
Her
zygote things.
little thingies.
If you cared about Frog, I feel like I'm hosting like a telethon to help save Frog Lady. If you care about Frog Lady as much as Caitlin does, then click that love button right now.
Alien matter species.
But if you love the character that Ash Crossan is champion, played by the incredible Ming-Na Wen, maybe hit that like button. Ash, 30 more seconds to tell us why that is the button they should hit.
Yeah, not to just like, I'm just boosting Caitlin a little bit, but I think you can argue that Frog Lady got the most press out of either of these characters.
Yeah, man.
But the reason I didn't go with Frog Lady was I think that I don't think we're going to see her again, which is like the antithesis of Caitlin's argument. She has a great argument there, but I just think that Fennec Shand has so much future potential that I'm invested in her going forward.
I get it.
Okay. Anthony Alicia is in the chat and says frog love is the purest love. And
it's true.
It was a beautiful moment when they reunited.
That hug, oh my God, I feel that in my bones to this day.
again, I love saying this. You're clicking like for Ming Na Wen. You're clicking love for Frog Lady. Alex has a question. While we're tabulating the votes, no love for Cobb Vanth. Where was Cobb Vanth? Was he in the conversation for y'all when you were making your pick?
Yeah, man. Of
Yes.
course. How could
Yes.
he not be?
Yes.
Timothy Oliphant, like that was some next level, like pulling from canon and dropping it back in.
Yeah. The thing is, the argument wasn't who's the biggest space daddy in all of the Mandalorian.
Right, which obviously.
So obviously it would go to him, like hands down.
Is that a category? I have a feeling that's going to be a category that pops out. That might be double
right now.
overtime.
Best space daddy, but you have to do it
Best
across
space.
all the space franchises, not just Star Wars.
Okay, well, look, the winner of this round that we just had for Best Supporting Character, it was a close one. Caitlin Busch has tied it, ladies and gentlemen, on the strength of
Ooh.
Frog Lady. And I will tell you this. I mean, watching when she was reunited with her hubby and they got to like have their family situation back. They live in a tiny studio apartment. I felt more emotion there than I did rewatching The Notebook, which I had to watch 2 nights ago for Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong, the podcast everybody should be downloading. So I champion the Frog people above Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. So that's how much I care about Frog love. Anthony, your comment was right on. Caitlin ties it. It is 1-1. And now it goes back to Ash from Entertainment Tonight, E.T.
Thank
for
you.
round 3. And that is the best Grogu moment. I mean, come on. We all love Grogu. So many great moments, including those where he was maybe trying to commit some sort of light genocide.
Yep.
Ash Crossan, a minute on the clock goes to you. What is the best Baby Yoda moment?
Okay, there's so many good moments to choose from because pretty much every time he's on screen, it's gifable. But I went with all the way back to chapter 2 when we see him use the Force for the very first time against the Mudhorn, which is about to like kill the hell out of Mando. Because I think not only does it explain the amount of power that Grogu has and like his use of the Force, it also solidified his connection, I think, with Mando, with Din at the time, because he was so willing to like exert himself. I think he passes out for like several days after this to protect his father figure. So there was just so many layers to that moment. Also, just moments wise, Ludwig Göransson was really pulling it out on that one too. That's another club bop for the future. But yeah, favorite moment.
Yeah, Caitlin, so many people were talking about that, where obviously episode 1 of Mandalorian, the first time we see the show, it ends with that little tease like, wait, it's a little baby Yoda. And then to see this little thing use the Force. It did the Force trick. And you just wonder, you've been around 50 years. Is this the first father figure you've ever had in your life? And now I'm going to go get emotional. So while I have a good cry for a minute, you let us know your best Grogu moment.
Okay, that one was great, Ash. I do have to rebuff though with chapter 9, which at the opening we see another bounty hunter try to take Grogu away from Mando, which we all know that is a big no-no. You do not mess with Grogu. And Grogu just sits there pretty calmly. He's not really doing much of anything. And then he gets him to trade Baby for his jetpack. Baby runs across to him, arms held wide, because he's finally reunited with his dad and he's safe, which is absolutely adorable. And then Mando launches this butt wipe up into the sky with his new jetpack. And Grogu enjoys every second of it. He loves the violence. He's slowly turning into like his own bounty hunter, and he just is following in his father's footsteps.
That's dangerous when you start loving the violence that much and you're Force sensitive. There's a
I think there's a history there of people with violent tendencies and Force stuff. I don't know though.
It doesn't always work out well for the galaxy or for them, for their soul. But
for the younglings.
Grogu's got a long way to go for Grogu, and we have a long way to go in this matchup. Currently 1-1, and now Ash Crossan, you get 30 more seconds to tell us why that first time we realized who exactly Baby Yoda was is so important.
This is so hard because I feel like every Grogu moment could be the best Grogu moment, just depending how you look at it. But yeah, for me, again, it's just his willingness to protect this guy that he barely knew at the attachment to him. And then we really didn't know in that first episode when we saw him, like what he was or what he was doing, or was he Force sensitive? We didn't know. And then just to see him be like, yeah, I can stop like a whole ass Mudhorn. And I was like, okay, he's got a lot of power.
You
That's my
are right.
argument.
Every moment, every time Grogu's on screen, you get something. Michael Smith just commented that him drinking the bone broth is arguably one of the best.
Oh yeah.
Fun. That's some snark right there.
Sipping the tea.
Like, do you
So
like the cute moments? Do you like the badass
Badass
moments? Do you like the
moments.
gifable moments? It's really up to you, which is why we're here.
that is why we're here. And if you agree with Ash and you think that taking down that, what do you say, Ash?
Mudhorn.
A
Whole
whole
ass
ass
Mudhorn.
Mudhorn
Whole ass
is
Mudhorn.
the best moment for Grogu, then hit that like button. Or if you agree with Caitlin, that whole trade that got worked out, you hit that love button. Caitlin, 30 more seconds before the end of the round.
There is not a wrong answer here for Grogu moments, but something about that gif that you can use of him rushing back with his little baby feet, like, across the desert to only be picked up by Mando and be so happy that he's back in his father's arms. This is the point in the series when the two of them have really, really started to connect. You know for a fact that Mando would do anything for this kid by this point, which wasn't in question at all, but it is solidified by little moments like these.
I'm looking at all these now. Everybody's posting gifs of their favorite Baby Yoda moments.
Yeah.
Love it.
The accidental electrocution is another highlight for me.
Yes.
Okay, let me take y'all back. Both great arguments. I don't. It's probably going to be another neck and neck race here. If you just read it on the page as a Star Wars fan, are you concerned that this is just going to not come off well? That it's just going to be cheesy, or it's going to be some weird play at selling toys? Like there was a good chance that Baby Yoda just wouldn't have played like it ended up doing.
Yeah.
I feel like this entire show is like that. There's so many moments where I'm like, if you just wrote this down for me and gave it to me, you're like, oh, Luke Skywalker's going to come back and Boba Fett's going to come back. He survived and he's going to get his armor back and Cobb Vanth's there and Ahsoka's going to come. I'd be like, oh my God, what is this? And it just works so well. I'm constantly proven wrong by this show.
Yeah, it's like it could be fan service TM, and yet it still manages to ride that line perfectly. The number of people who I have seen that like comment about that, about how it could be ridiculous. Like the amount of stuff, the way that we are eating every single week when this show is on is absolutely ridiculous. And even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan, you can still enjoy these little things. Even if you don't really know who Boba Fett is or don't really care, you at least know that he's important to this context. And so they are able to just bring together all different kinds of fans.
Well, Boba Fett's name could come up in this next round. But before we get to your most badass moment, we got to settle the score here. You click the like for Ash, you click the love for Caitlin, and Caitlin Busch has her first lead of the ball game. It is 2-1 in favor of Caitlin. It was a whole ass Mudhorn, but that whole rope-a-dope with the rocket and then it just taking off, it's a little too much weight for Grogu. So we are going to continue on now with the fourth round. Okay, Ash, you get a win here and you force overtime. If not, Caitlin Busch is going to win today's binge battle. And like I said, it's badass moment. So Ash Crossan, why don't you have the floor? What's the most badass moment in The Mandalorian?
Oh man, again, another hard one. But for me, the idea of, we were just talking about this, but the idea of Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit was one of those things I always liked, but I never really knew if they could pull it off in a way that didn't feel ultra fan servicey. And then to see Boba Fett not only survive, but then there's the moment where they're fighting in outside of California somewhere in chapter 14, and they're on Tython. Yeah, that's right, Tython. And Boba Fett's doing his thing, and we kind of see him look over to the Razor Crest, and you're like, oh my God, he's going to get the armor. And then he has that moment where he rises up over one of the stormtroopers in full armor, and then just, I think, kills about 40 stormtroopers in this moment in about 10 seconds. So besides Luke, this is the moment that elicited the biggest reaction from me in the entire show, and I thought it was done so well, and it could have gone an opposite direction, but it was just chef's kiss.
Yeah, and special additional chef's kiss to our tech team working hard behind the scenes and showing you all this great Mandalorian footage.
Thank you.
Forgot how quick and like badass that scene was of Boba Fett just wasting all of these stormtroopers. The cautionary tale of that is, of course, hey kids, take it from me, you don't necessarily want to matriculate in life and then try to put on your old high school basketball uniform because it may not fit the way that you remember it.
It's a little different.
But he got the job done, and now the job is yours. Caitlin, what is the most badass moment in The Mandalorian?
You know, I did consider that Boba moment. That was like one of my top things, but I had to take it to an actual moment for Din Djarin. It had to be something in my mind that the Mandalorian himself performed. So I have to go back to the first episode of season 2 when they're trying to defeat the Krayt Dragon. Him and Cobb Vanth have no idea what the heck they're doing. They come up with a last second plan. Mando grabs like some bait, pulls him over, and then puts himself inside of the Krayt Dragon and blows it up from the inside out in like a perfect like Disney's Hercules moment where he blows it apart. And then of course, you know, you get the Tusken Raiders with the pearl and all of the aftermath there. But the moment that dragon blows up out of nowhere and Mando just lands and cool guys don't look back at explosions kind of moment, it's glorious.
Yeah, you know, you said like a Disney-fied moment, and you got to think back to how nice of human beings or wooden boys that Geppetto and Pinocchio were, because they could have blown up Monster the whale and just
They
like killed
could
the whale,
have.
but they're like, no, let's just make him sneeze. Let's just give him a
That's
cold
fine.
and sneeze us out, and everybody's gonna walk away. Monster swims happy. That's a binge battle for a different day. Ash, the focus is back to your badass moment. Boba Fett gets his armor. Why is that more badass than what we saw with the Mandalorian blowing up a giant animal from the inside?
Look, I think I love the Krayt Dragon moment, by the way, but for Boba Fett, I think a lot of fans felt this way of like, why do people love Boba Fett so much? He kind of goes down pretty quickly. Like, I don't really get why he's like a fan favorite character for people. And this was a moment that I think proved everyone who felt that way absolutely wrong. Me being one of them, of being like, I like Boba Fett, but like, is he as badass as everyone says? Yes, he absolutely is. It worked so well. And this is also one of those moments where if you're going to bring back Boba Fett, you got to do it right. And they executed this perfectly. Ugh, Robert Rodriguez, shout out.
Very well said. Yeah, they executed it so well. We got the tease of Boba Fett at the very end of the first episode of this new season 2, and you're just wondering, okay, so this is going to be like this hermit, like an Obi-Wan stumbling around the desert in A New Hope, or are we going to get some action scenes? We got a lot more than just that. So you're clicking that like for Ash's argument. If you think that Caitlin is correct with her argument for most badass moment, hit that love button. And Caitlin, you get 30 more seconds to describe it right now.
Ooh, okay. So when talking about what makes this so good, it's because Mando is so good at improvising. This is just like the peak of him working as a bounty hunter for years and years and years. This is just yet another reminder at the top of season 2 that this guy is not someone that you want to mess with. This guy is here to protect his son and to like complete all of the side missions that everyone has bestowed upon him this season. This is a perfect opener to that, and it's a literal explosion right at the top of the season.
And I'm seeing Alex in the Facebook chat saying that Mando perfected the superhero landing. Yeah, he really nailed that.
He did.
That really was.
This
Deadpool
comes
would be proud.
down. Do you want the superhero landing or do you want the superhero rise up? Like that's what this is coming down between.
Yeah, you get the rise up with Ash, and you get the landing with Caitlin. Boba Fett's been watching those. I mean, we could all take both of them, and I'm trying to think of any Boba Fett moment that I wouldn't want, or that I thought all the Boba Fett stuff played so well, and obviously Mandalorian. It's like every word is so precious in there, but you watch his actions, you watch his improvisational ability, and you say this guy, you just never count him out in a fight. A lot like the guy who's going to be playing quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. I think that the Chiefs are the favorite? Yes. But do I think Tom Brady should never be against? Yes, I do.
I'm from Kansas City, so it's going to be a thing here.
There you go. Well, it certainly is going to be a thing here on Binge Battle, because Ash Crossan has won the most badass moment round.
Yay! This is going great.
It is 2-2. And anytime I do a show like this, you want everybody to get on the scoreboard. You want everybody to have a good time. It's 2-2. Y'all have adjudicated yourselves great as true, positive lights in the Star Wars universe. And now we go to our overtime debate round. This is a good one. This is the reason why we saved it for this. Who wields the dark saber? Ash just tied it. So Caitlin Busch, a minute is on the clock. Who's wielding that dark saber?
Ooh, ultimately, it's going to be Bo-Katan. If you are a fan of any of the animated series, whether it be Clone Wars or whether it be Star Wars Rebels, you know the lengths that she has gone to for this. It is her right at this point. Granted, she had it before, she lost it. There was some stuff with Maul. We don't need to get into that right now. But ultimately, it will be her. She is the most capable person here, and the only other logical person right now might be Mando, but he doesn't want it. He doesn't, so why wouldn't it be Bo, who has the experience, who has the family name, who has the respect upon Mandalore? It has to be her.
Has to be her, and maybe not Mandalorian or Ash Crossan. Do you think differently? Who in your mind is going to be wielding the dark saber?
Okay, I feel like we could talk about this for an hour, but obviously
Yes.
we have to have different answers here. So I'm very curious about this debate. So I think it's going to be Din. Like I think the next season's going to be about Din helping Bo-Katan restore Mandalore, and we've kind of seen throughout the show so far there's like these different factions of Mandalorians with different beliefs about the code and the helmets and so on and so forth. And so there's obviously this big divide here, and Bo-Katan even like describes the Children of the Watch as like a cult. And we kind of see Din, he's starting to like toe the line a little bit. Even like Mayfield tells him your rules change, the more desperate you get, and blah, blah, blah. So I think as much as I'd like for it to be Bo-Katan, and it makes sense right now, I think, and it is just a symbol, it's not really like the keys to the kingdom or anything. I think Mando and the show being called The Mandalorian is leading to this, because I think he's the one that's going to be able to reunite, or to like unite everybody. And I have to imagine that's where it's going, but I could be totally off.
Ooh, okay. So we have all these different sects of the same belief system, and they're all
Right.
splintered off, and maybe that is the symbol, and Mando's the person to unite them, or Bo-Katan, certainly the next in line, so to speak. So more medieval times, you're probably going Bo-Katan for sure. If you think Ash is correct with the Mandalorian guest, then you are going to hit that like button. If you think that Caitlin has the lockdown on Bo-Katan, then you hit that love button. And Caitlin, 30 more seconds. Why do you think that it's not going to be Ash's choice of ultimately being Mando?
I think while Mando will obviously get sucked into this larger scheme in the universe that he never planned on doing, like Boba said, it's similar. He's a simple man trying to make his way in the universe. He will get sucked into this, but ultimately he does not want that responsibility. I think he's on a journey to break his weird cult conditioning that he had at one point. He probably might end up as an advisor to Bo-Katan down the line, but ultimately she's the lady with all of the answers. She's the one who knows this world that Mando is kind of just taking larger steps into for the first time. So experience over popularity, I have to go with experience.
I watched this show and multiple times, and I never got as deep with the Mandalorian lore and thinking about the mythology of it as y'all are presenting right now. So I'm here for more of it. Again, love for Caitlin, like for Ash. Ash, 30 more seconds of defending Mandalorian and
Yeah.
illuminating me to this belief system.
It's so complex, and obviously like we don't know where it's going. If we did, we wouldn't be watching the show. But I don't know. I just think the title is like, I get really hung up on that, because I feel like him being the Mandalorian, unless it's like somebody else, maybe it's leading to that. It just makes so much sense to me. I don't know how exactly they're going to do it, because I obviously don't want to see Bo-Katan like ousted or anything like that. Like, she obviously deserves it, but I think just in terms of the story, I just feel like it's gonna be him. I don't know why yet though.
Very strong hunch.
We could
And
both be wrong.
Yeah, or yeah, it could go
Or
to
it's someone else.
Grogu.
Maybe it's Grogu. Maybe Grogu is the Mandalorian.
okay, that's my vote then. Then I'll
Okay.
say Grogu, and we'll see. We're tabulating the votes right now. Once again, get those last votes in. Like for Ash, love for Caitlin. That's a thumbs up for Ash. That's the heart for Caitlin.
Thumbs up.
Season 3, we're going to get a season 3. We're very excited about it.
Yes.
Probably a lot less Grogu, though, right? I mean, are we going to
I
see
would imagine.
Grogu at all in season 3?
I mean, I hope so, but I feel like we're done with Grogu for now. They will be reunited, but I also occasionally just think about how Grogu is going to learn Luke Skywalker's name, and the last time that he heard the name Skywalker, some really bad stuff went down.
Oh,
So I feel like he's not gonna react very well to that.
oh.
And I wonder where we're gonna be in time, because if we're getting the
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett next year, I don't know if the Mandalorian's gonna come back for a hot minute.
I would guess
Okay.
like mid next year, late next
Yeah,
year.
I hope so. But
Yeah.
I wonder if they're like, let's put a pause on this, work on some other shows, then we'll come back and there'll be like a time jump.
Yeah.
I don't
mean,
know.
we got Kenobi, like you said, we got Bad Batch. Like there's so much. We got Cassian Andor. There's so much happening, y'all.
There's a lot. There's a lot to get excited about. So Grogu, take your nap. Mandalorian, go take a space mission. Sleep without your helmet and don't let anybody see you for a little bit. Seeing Boba Fett sit down on that throne, that got me. I'm like, okay, I'm juiced. I'm ready for the Book of Boba Fett.
How confusing was that? They were like, Book of Boba Fett, and I was like, is it a book? Is it a show?
Book? Is that what the next? I remember people were like, "Is that what the third season of the Mandalorian is? Is it like the Mandalorian colon the Book of Boba Fett?" And they had to be like, "Wait, no, sorry, actually, it's a whole other thing, kids."
We're so spoiled as fans. Not only do we need post credit scenes and everything now we need them explained to us too.
Yeah, break it down for me.
Disney, please.
I am here to explain that the voting is done. The votes have been tabulated, and this is one of the closest binge battles we've ever had in the illustrious history of this show, courtesy of Rotten Tomatoes. And winning the binge battle today by the skin of their teeth is the dark saber is being wielded by Ash Crossan, ladies and gentlemen. Ash Crossan wins. She took you to overtime. Caitlin, this was such a fun debate to watch. It was so cool to see y'all go back and forth and really convince me, and I didn't know which side I was going to be voting on. I hope y'all enjoyed yourself. First of all, Ash, you won, so I'm sure you want to talk a lot of trash to the internet right now.
Oh yeah, like no, this was so fun, and you know, it's just fun talking about Mandalorian in like a positive way. It's just a lot of fun. I love it. I don't know, Caitlin, you're awesome. I liked debating with you.
It was very fun.
Very fun.
Very fun.
Hey, I'm Mark, and I'm just here to
happy to be invited.
To each other.
Yeah, I'm honestly just happy to do something else while in quarantine. Something new.
Yeah. It is a nice way to gab and pass the time. So before we say goodnight to everybody here, these are two of the most fantastic, talented personalities in the entire space. You can call it a nerd community, you can call it Star Wars fans, whatever you want to do. You're going to see Caitlin and Ash everywhere now that you know them. If this was your introduction to them, follow them wherever they are. Yes. Not in real life. That's creepy. Do it online. Support their causes. Ash, you are our champion. Where can everybody find you on social media? Since you're a lot better at knowing your credits than I am, what are you currently working on?
Yeah, I'm not at Access Hollywood. I am at Entertainment Tonight. So you can find me on etonline.com. But mostly if you want to find my work, just Ash Crossan at Ash Crossan on Twitter. That's where I post everything that I'm doing. So yeah, follow me there and we'll chat.
And we're looking for streaming recommendations because that whole quarantine thing, it's not quite over. That pandemic, we're trying to get to the finish line here. What's a good pick? What's something that we can watch that is going to take our mind off of the troubles of the real world?
Oh, me first. Okay. I'm going to go with What We Do in the Shadows. If you have not watched the show yet on Hulu, you absolutely need to watch it. It's on FX, but it's also on Hulu. And also, Mark Hamill makes an appearance in it in arguably the best episode of the show. We can have another binge battle about that if we'd like, with Jackie Daytona, human bartender, but it's so freaking funny. So definitely check that one out if you haven't yet. It's a must watch.
I've been thinking about this for months, and I just don't know that there's a funnier name that you could have ever picked for that scene or for that show, that episode than Jackie Daytona. It's literally it's the perfect
toothpick
name.
She doesn't recognize him.
And Mark Hamill's great in it too. Caitlin Busch, where can everybody find you? You're working on so much cool stuff with sci-fi right now. What's the latest?
Yeah, man. Well, we're doing sci-fi.com right now. Obviously ton of WandaVision stuff. We are always here to talk about Star Wars. And also Sci-Fi has a new show called Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk, who you know from Firefly, who you know as K2SO in Star Wars. The man is a legend. Absolutely adore him. But if you want to actually get in contact with me, you can find me mostly on Twitter at Caitlin M. Busch. It's Bush like the beer, not like the president's. And otherwise, I think, streaming recommendation. What We Do in the Shadows. Wonderful show. I have to pick Voltron, Legendary Defender, though, the reboot that they did. It's on Netflix. It's heartwarming and funny, and if you like Star Wars at all, you're going to enjoy this because it's still just space, except it's a bunch of people flying around in robot lions that combine like into an Ultron kind of creator.
All right, you had my curiosity at robots, you had my interest at robot lions, so I might have to check out that Voltron thing. It's such a pleasure to connect with both y'all. Thank y'all for joining us today on Binge Battle. And look, if you enjoyed the show today at all, please give a big virtual round of applause wherever you are to our amazing behind-the-scenes crew here at Rotten Tomatoes. If you say, hey, Caitlin and Ash were great, that host's so mediocre, the only reason I look as good as mediocre is because of everybody behind the scenes. So a big tip of the cap to them. Ash, Caitlin, I am merely Mark Ellis. Whether you watch it on Facebook or on YouTube, please make sure you check out RottenTomatoes.com for all the latest. And their binge guide on there is going to give you a bunch of helpful tips as to what to watch to suit your lifestyle while we all get to hang out at home with our pets way too much. And make sure you follow Rotten Tomatoes at Rotten Tomatoes on all social media platforms. And check out the Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong podcast hosted by this idiot and Jacqueline Coley. So until our next binge battle, for Ash Crossan and Caitlin Busch, I'm Mark Ellis saying so long, and may the force be with you.